Well, guys, we're back again with our look at the book of Mark. We're going to be in Mark chapter 8, so have your Bible ready. But first, we got our friend back, Carl the Camel. Carl, are you here today?
Hey, I'm back, Jeremy.
Hey, it's Carl, guys. Hey, Carl, listen, let me ask you a question.
Yeah?
Have you ever, waited for something for a long time?
Oh, yes,
What
I have.
What about, did you wait for it and then you waited so long you were looking, but when it came you were distracted and you missed it? Do you ever do that?
Yeah.
What about if maybe it's something you were waiting for and you thought, man, I really want this, and then you got it, but it wasn't like what you thought it would be when you got it?
Yeah.
It's kind of disappointing. You weren't really satisfied with it, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're going to look at in Mark chapter 8. We're looking at this word and the two words fully satisfied. Have you ever want to be fully satisfied?
Of course.
Do you think it happens with the stuff we get?
Sometimes.
Yeah, that's what we think, but this is what Jesus wants to teach us. So, Carl, if you got somewhere to go, that's okay. I'm going to talk to the kids for a minute about Mark chapter 8.
Yeah, gotta go help my mom out.
Okay, well, thanks for coming for a second, Carl. We'll talk to you in just a few minutes.
Okay, bye.
Okay, so Jesus talks about being fully satisfied, and we have the word blessed. Have you ever heard that word? Well, blessed in the Bible means fully satisfied, and it's not tied to your stuff. It's not tied to what you own. It's tied to being connected to Jesus and getting the things from Jesus that we should have. So we are only fully satisfied with Jesus. And so in Mark chapter 8, Jesus feeds 4,000 people. And we know he just fed 5,000 people, and we talked about that a few weeks ago. So we know that Jesus can do this, but this is another time that he does it. And so Jesus is going to also, we have these really moments in Mark chapter 8 that I call, are you kidding me moments? Okay? Carl, where you at?
Oh, yeah, I'm back.
Does your mom ever say to you, are you kidding me?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, there's a few times in this chapter that we have to say that about things that are happening, right?
Yeah.
So Jesus' disciples, they know he fed 5,000 people, and now these people are hungry again, and he says, you feed them. He says, I want to feed them. And they said, how are we going to do that? That's pretty, are you kidding me, right?
Yeah.
Because they know he could do that. But that's what they say. How can we feed these people with bread in this desolate place? So Jesus doesn't he doesn't give them a hard time about their lack of faith here. He just says, how many loaves of bread and fish do you have? So he performs this miracle, and they feed all the people, and it says about the people, they ate and they were satisfied, right? Not because of the food, really, Carl, but because Jesus had taken care of them and they learned to trust Jesus. That's why they're satisfied. So we're satisfied when we trust Jesus to take care of us and to help us, not just with our physical things, but a lot more with spiritual things that we face.
Yeah.
Okay?
Uh-huh.
All right, you want to hear another are you kidding me moment?
Sure.
So they get in the boat and they go to the other side. You know what before they get into the boat and there's disciples, you know what they did?
What?
They forgot to bring food. Okay? But first let's look at I'm missing a page, Carl.
Forgot the food?
They forgot the food, Carl. Can you believe that?
Oh.
And they get in the boat and they had 7 basketfuls of leftovers. Right?
Yeah.
And Jesus says, we have 1 loaf of bread. Can you imagine? Are you kidding me? He brought 7, their size of meat, baskets full of food, of man-sized baskets, and they didn't bring any leftovers in the boat. Are you kidding me? Right? So that's one thing they did. But then the Pharisees come to him and they said, give us a sign, Carl. And if you give us a sign, they want to test him. Are you kidding me? Right? Jesus just gave them many, many signs. He's done miracles that they've seen. He's healed on the Sabbath. And now, Carl, Jesus just he just fed 4,000 people again. And they want a sign. Do you think they would have believed if he gave them another sign?
Well, maybe some would, but some wouldn't.
Yeah, they just wanted to trap him. And so Jesus doesn't give them a sign. It says, look what it says, chapter 8, verse 12. He sighed deeply in his spirit. That's one of these eye rolls, right? Jesus is rolling his eyes like, oh, you got to be kidding me. They weren't satisfied, and they were never going to be satisfied because they didn't trust Jesus. And so Jesus has to deal with their lack of faith, right? He's trying to change their mind, but he tries to change our minds. And we're not satisfied sometimes with who Jesus is and what he's done. And he's given us all kind of evidence. And he gives us the empty tomb, and we know that Jesus raised from the dead. And so we need to be satisfied with who Jesus is, and he wants us to be blessed by that. So Jesus leaves them fully satisfied. Then he talks to them in the boat, okay, Carl, about this leaven. And it wasn't about, oh, is that your mom? I hear your mom, Carl.
Oh, that's my mom. Gotta go.
Okay. Well, I think your mom is talking about leaven. You know what leaven is, kids? It's like in the dough that makes it rise. But if you put it in it, it affects the whole dough. And so when they forgot their bread in the boat, Jesus says, watch out. Beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the leaven of Herod. And so they start talking to each other that they didn't have any bread. And Jesus says, why are you talking about the fact that you have no bread? That's not what I'm talking about. He's talking about the things that can affect us spiritually, the teachings that change the way we live and think. And he says those are very dangerous to your faith. And they don't have trust in me. So he wants them to be careful. And he says, do you not yet understand? Because they didn't. They didn't see what he was trying to see. And so Jesus is going to do things in a physical thing. Sometimes that's all we can see around us. But he wants them to see not just the physical, the spiritual. And they miss that so many times. Oh, Carl, you're back. Did you help find your mom's leaven in the kitchen?
It was in the pantry.
Yeah. So we got to watch out for the teachings, the things that affect us. And Jesus wants us to make that just him, just Jesus. So he's discussing the spiritual, not the physical. So then they come to Bethsaida in chapter 8. And this is in Mark chapter 22, verse 22. And he finds a man, he's blind. And they bring him to Jesus. And Jesus, of course, they want this man to see. And so Jesus doesn't heal him right there. He takes him all the way outside the village. Because he doesn't do this to be seen by men. He's not doing this for a show. He was doing this simply to heal this man, to give him his eyesight. He wants him to see. And so he heals the man, and he touches his eyes, and he says, can you see? And the man says to him, I see people, but they look like trees walking. They're a little blurry. So he touches his eyes again. And then he sees clearly, it says. And so Jesus does that to us. Sometimes we don't see everything clearly like Jesus wants us to. And we need to rely on Jesus and trust him to see everything clearly. The spiritual things that God is doing. The blessings are not physical always. They're spiritual. And he says, don't miss that part. There are things that God's able to do with our doubt, with our fear, with our unbelief, and he wants us to give that to him, and he's going to help us see something that he's able to do. You know, if Jesus can do all these physical things and all these miracles, what can he do that we can't see? And that's what they want. He needs them to believe. So, how many times, guys, does God overlook our "are you kidding me" moments, right? Where he says, I can't believe you missed it. You were waiting for it. You may be looking for it. But don't miss it. Right, Carl?
Yeah.
Because Jesus wants us to be fully satisfied. And that brings a lot of peace and a lot of joy. And we only find that with Jesus. So, do you know You know the Chronicles of Narnia?
I love those books and those movies.
Yeah.
They're my favorite.
Well, the guy that wrote them is C.S. Lewis, and this is where we're going to end today, guys. He says this. C.S. Lewis says, "Look for Christ, and you will find him, and with him, everything else." And so if we're looking, Jesus is going to leave us fully satisfied and blessed. Okay, guys, we're going to see you next week for our class. We hope to be back in person soon. But thanks for coming to class with us. And keep reading Mark. Keep talking about it with your family. And I hope that you get to know Jesus and what he wants from us even better about who he is, right?
Yeah.
Well, Carl, thanks for coming today.
Thanks. Bye, kids.
Hope you learned something. Bye, guys.